Hello dear students, welcome back once again to Kamala Online Learning. We are back again with another informative video lesson from your schedule. Please be completely attentive during the teaching. Keep your textbook and also a rough book with you. Note down important points and difficult or new words as we go. This video lesson will begin with an overview which will give you an idea about the contents of the lesson. It will be followed by learning objectives. Please note down the learning objectives in your notes and try to answer them at the end of the session. If you have any doubts, rewatch the video and refer to your textbook and study material. In case you need further clarification, please mail your doubts to kamalaonlinelearning@gmail.com. This video is recorded with simple, easy to understand language and eye-catching graphics. We hope it helps you to understand the concepts better. So, let's get started.
Welcome to the chapter Respiration. This slide presents the overview of the chapter. By the end of this chapter, you will be able to understand the importance of respiration, explain discovery of gases and respiration, illustrate the events or steps in respiration, examine whether the energy releases without oxygen, demonstrate the anaerobic respiration with experiments, distinguish between respiration and combustion, explain heat production by living organisms, interpret evolution in energy-releasing system, describe respiration in plants, interpret conduction within the plant, explain aeration of roots, demonstrate evolution of carbon dioxide during respiration, demonstrate release of heat energy during respiration, distinguish between photosynthesis and respiration. Before entering into the chapter, follow the instructions shown. In lower classes, we learned that food is used to carry out life processes of all living organisms, whether it may be unicellular or multicellular. In the previous chapter, we have discussed how the body utilizes the nutrients from the food consumed and also the process of nutrition in plants. Can you answer these questions? Do you know how food provides energy for all body activities? What is respiration? What do cells of a living body require in order to work properly? How do respiration takes place in plants? Let us try to answer these questions and learn more about respiration in plants and animals and human beings. Respiration is the process in which food is broken down to release energy. Respiration is the final utilization of food. Respiration normally takes place when oxygen is abundant. Cells of the living body require gas, food material, and some chemicals to help the body function properly. To start with, let us study the relation of gases and the process of respiration. Discovery of gases and respiration. The term respiration came into existence in 14th century. Generally, respiration is referred as the process involving passage of air and production of body heat. In 18th century, Lavoisier and Priestley discovered the properties of gases, their exchange and respiration. Based on this, we know how the exchange of gases goes on. In earlier classes, you have already studied the Priestley's experiments. Priestley's experiment helped us to find more about composition of air. Lavoisier also performed several experiments to understand the properties of gases. In his earlier experiments, he thought that the gas liberated on heating powdered charcoal in a bell jar, kept over water in a trough, was like fixed air. His next series of experiments was based on combustion of phosphorus in a bell jar. From this experiments of heating powdered charcoal, he concluded that the substance which combines with the phosphorus is either air itself or another elastic fluid contained in a certain proportion in the air which we breathe. Lavoisier observed that there was a great difference between the air in which combustion of a metal had been carried out and the air which had served for respiration. He gave logical conclusion for the process of respiration. He concluded that either eminently respirable air gets changed in the lungs to chalky acid air, or an exchange takes place. This eminently respirable air is being absorbed, and almost an equal volume of chalky acid air being given up to the air from the lung. Lavoisier experiments have given away to several other researchers. Around mid of 19th century, a renowned chemist, John Draper, has written a few lines as the chief materials which a living being receives are matter that can be burnt, water, and oxygen gas, and out of the action of these upon one another, all the physical phenomena of its life arises. What the body expels out is water, oxide of carbon, phosphorus, sulfur, and others. Thus, in the mid of 19th century, we have observed the role of major compounds and elements during the process of respiration. Though the events and steps are not clear regarding respiration, people believed that there was a relation between the heat produced in the body and the process of respiration. Let us now discuss the steps involved in the process of respiration in human beings. Attempt the following questions to check your understanding. The events or steps in respiration. Hover the mouse over the tabs to know more about their process. Let us now look into the concept map of breathing. Here, let us perform an activity on respiratory gases. Take two test tubes A and B. Pour fresh lime water in each test tube. Take a syringe or a pichicary and place it in the test tube A. Now pass air through the lime water with the help of pichicary fixed to the rubber tube. Next, blow the air out from the mouth through lime water with the help of a straw or glass tube in the test tube B. Now, observe the time taken for lime water to be converted into milky white in both the test tubes A and B. It is observed that in test tube A, lime water takes long time to turn into milky white. On the other hand, in test tube B, the lime water fastly turns into milky white, proving that we exhale carbon dioxide. Generally, lime water turns into milky white when carbon dioxide mixes with it. In this activity, the air which is blown out from mouth through lime water is exhaled air. As it turns lime water into milky white, we can say that the exhaled air contains carbon dioxide. Thus, carbon dioxide is produced during the process of respiration of air from nostrils to alveolus. Nostrils. Generally, the air enters into the body through nostrils. Nasal cavity. It removes the dirt present in the air with the help of hair that grows from its sides. It has moist surface. As the inhaled air passes through the nasal cavity, its temperature is brought close to the body's temperature. Nasal cavity collects the water vapor present in the air, hence it becomes more moist than before. Pharynx. Pharynx is a part of digestive system and also the respiratory system. The function of pharynx is to warm and moist the air and carry it into the lungs. The human pharynx is usually divided into three sections. They are nasopharynx, epipharynx, oropharynx, mesopharynx, laryngopharynx, hypopharynx. Epiglottis, a flap-like muscular valve, controls movement of air and food towards their respective passages. Larynx. Larynx is commonly called as voice box. It is an organ present in the neck of animals, reptiles and mammals. The function of larynx is, it helps in breathing and sound production. The voice box contains vocal cords. When air passes from lungs to the vocal cords, it causes them to vibrate and manipulates the pitch and volume based on the speech, songs, etc. Trachea. The trachea or windpipe is the tube that connects the pharynx and larynx to the lungs. It allows the passage of air to the lungs. Touch your neck to feel the tube-like structure. Bronchus. The lower end of trachea or windpipe is divided into two bronchi, leading to each lung. A bronchus is also called as a main or primary bronchus. The function of bronchus is, it helps in passage of air in the respiratory tract that carries air into the lungs. Bronchioles. The bronchi is further divided into smaller branches called bronchioles. In bronchi, the exchange of gases does not take place. Alveolus. Bronchioles finally get terminated in clusters of air sacs called alveolus. An alveolus is an anatomical structure that is in hollow cavity shape. Alveolus are very small and numerous and are found in the lung parenchyma. The exchange of gases takes place here as blood capillaries take in oxygen and push out carbon dioxide. The entire passage of air from nostrils to alveolus is moist and warm. While breathing, the air moves from the nasal cavity to the pharynx. Here is a tricky situation from the pharynx. There are two passageways, one to the lungs and the other to the stomach. This traffic is maintained properly by a flap-like valve called Epiglottis, which protects the tube to the lungs by arresting entry of food. Observe the pictures and discuss the epiglottis and its functioning while breathing or swallowing. This valve closes temporarily when we swallow food and deflects the food down towards the stomach and maintains it out of the trachea or windpipe, which is the route to the lungs. When we breathe air, epiglottis opens more widely and air enters into the lungs. For guiding the function of epiglottis and passage of food and air, nervous regulation is essential. Let us learn about the mechanism of breathing during respiration in order to find out how the exhaled air comes out. Generally, we know that breathing is the process of inhaling and exhaling of air. The organs involved in this process are mainly lungs. It is difficult to see the process going on inside the lungs, but it is easy to feel them in action. Just put your hands on your chest and breathe in deeply. You will feel that your chest is slightly becoming bigger. Now, breathe out the air and feel your chest returning to its normal size. This is the power of lungs. The lungs cannot intake the air nor push it out by themselves. Instead, the chest wall muscles and the other flexible flattened muscle called diaphragm help the lungs in moving air into and out of them. Let us learn in detail about the role of diaphragm and ribs in respiration. The walls of the chest is made up of ribs, muscles, and the skin. The ribs are attached to an angle to the spine. If you move your finger along one of your ribs, you will notice that it extends downward from the spine. When we inhale, the chest wall moves up and out. This increases the volume of the chest cavity. Let us imagine the chest cavity as a room and diaphragm as a floor. When the diaphragm is in relaxed state, it is in the shape of a dome extending into the chest cavity. When the diaphragm shrinks, it flattens a bit and the dome moves downwards. As a result, the volume of the chest cavity increases. As the volume of the chest cavity increases, its internal pressure decreases, and due to this, the air from outside runs into the lungs. This process is called as inspiration or inhalation. In the reverse process, the chest wall gets lowered and moves inward, and the diaphragm relaxes and resumes its dome shape. These changes increase the pressure on the lungs. Due to this, the elastic tissue of lungs shrink and squeezes the air out through the nose to the external atmosphere. This process is called as expiration or exhalation. When we are at rest, we notice that our breathing is slow and shallow, and our breathing is deeper and faster when we exercise hard. It has been found that all movements of breathing get stopped at once when the nerves leading from the brain to respiratory system are cut. During exhalation, carbon dioxide gas is removed from our body. What happens during the process of breathing? Observe whether there is any difference in composition of air between inhaled and exhaled air. Let us answer these questions by studying the next step. The table on the screen gives the differences between inhalation and exhalation.